Namaste. I am going to divert away from our series for today because a live workshop yesterday on Easter Sunday regarding sacred symbols. And I wanted to present this blissful flow practice for you guys since you're not connected to that studio. And I did a chart here. Based on the symbols that I went over. And so I'm going to go over these briefly with you. This is the Star of David. You've probably heard me talk about sacred geometry, and the triangle is part of sacred geometry. The triangle that points upward represents the masculine. It represents the potential for growth. It represents transformation. It represents ascension. And the triangle with the pinnacle pointed upward is also one of the symbols regarding the third chakra, the solar plexus, which is about the inner fire transformation. Now, this other triangle that you see here pointed downward represents the feminine. It represents what is of the earth. It represents grounding. It represents gravity. And the combination of these two together represents freedom. This is about freedom to the people. This is one of the symbols of Judaism. Then we move over here to the spiral. And the spiral is something that comes up in yoga because think about Kundalini Shakti. It's the dormant energy located at the base of the spine that's represented by like a coiled up snake. And you can see that resemblance here. So it represents the Kundalini. It represents vital life force energy. You can find it in Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism. You can find it amongst the Celts. You can even see the spiral in some of the Irish crosses. And you can even find this in Native American paintings. If you move over to the next one, it's the Ohm symbol. I go over this a lot in yoga. The Ohm symbol represents the symbol and the sound of the divine or God or universal intelligence. It represents different states of consciousness. So one of the lines represents the wakeful state, another one, the sleep state, another one, dream state. And then the crescent moon in that upper right-hand corner represents the veil of illusion, and the bindi or dot above that represents pure positive consciousness. The cross is another sacred symbol. The cross is something that Christians adopted, but this symbol has been around and predates Christianity. It represents what is spiritual coming into manifestation or into the physical, what is physical made into the material. And then we have the wheel of life, sometimes called the Dharma wheel. It represents our Dharma, our path in life. It represents birth, life, death, rebirth. When it's pictured with four spokes, it represents the Four Noble Truths, since this symbol has been adopted by Buddhism. When it has the 8 spokes, like I drew, this represents the Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path in Buddhism is very, very, very similar to the Eightfold Path that we've been going over in yoga. Move over to the swastika. So don't be concerned or nervous about this symbol. This is different than the Nazi form of the swastika. And the swastika predates Nazi Germany. Again, this was a sacred symbol that had already been around. And this one that I drew here represents life, love, and prosperity. When I used to fly to India back in 97 and 98, I would see the swastika depicted on the temple outside on the temple corners or walls, and didn't know what it meant until I visited those sacred sites and realized there's an actual positive meaning or symbology that comes along with this. The Yin Yang symbol right next to it is something you all know. This is something adopted by Taoism. It represents the divine masculine and feminine. It represents the active and passive. Basically, it represents polarity and balance and harmony. So the white represents the masculine, the black represents the feminine. But notice in each of those kind of paisley symbols, you also have the feminine within the masculine and the masculine within the feminine. And then the fish below that. Now look at the fish. If that wasn't cut off, it would be very similar to the sign of infinity, which is another sacred symbol. The fish was adopted by Christianity, but it actually, again, predates Christianity. There's a lot of myths. I don't know if you've ever studied Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey or any of his writings, but his writings are about different cultures and different myths and how the stories are pretty congruent and that we're more similar than different. In many of these myths, there's a half man, half fish. Even in the history of yoga, the first sage that Shiva conveyed the teachings of yoga to, besides his wife, was Matsyendra, who was considered half fish, half man. All right, even in the Gnostic Gospels, the Essenes, a Jewish group that lived near the Dead Sea, had this symbol being utilized. All right, next to that is the Ankh. And look how similar the Ankh is to the cross. The Ankh represents life, the key of life. Notice how it does look similar to a key. And it also represents the afterlife. So you'll see this in Egyptian hieroglyphics, but this symbol predates the Egyptians. And this was something that the Egyptians adopted. All right, and then we have the crescent moon. The crescent moon is, well, it represents different things. It can represent consciousness. Like on Shiva, you often see a crescent moon on his forehead. But what it really represents is the feminine and life cycles. It even represents the female or menstrual cycle, the different seasons, the different tides. And I heard something interesting over the weekend, and it was talking about a goddess, a lunar goddess, meaning a moon goddess in the ancient Babylonian times, who was called Sin. And they were saying that is where, when the Bible talks about sin, right, after the Adam and Eve story, that they placed that word from this Babylonian goddess, lunar, feminine, and turned it into her name. So those are the symbols we're going to be discussing, but think about the poses we do. We have a Wheel of Life pose. We have a lot of star poses. We often chant or use the symbol of Om. When I do walking meditations, I usually set up lights or a strand of yoga straps to create a spiral. We used to do this in the park. We have a fish pose. We're going to be working up to cross pose today, and we also have some moon poses. So we're going to tie this into our blissful flow practice today. I suggest 2 blocks, and I will meet you on the mat. Let's start in a comfortable seat. Sitting with the spine erect, the palms at rest on the lap, and the eyelids gently closed. As you tune into your body and breath, it requires us to be in the present moment, to pay attention and to be in the inner knowing of what is happening right now. As you continue to breathe in and out through the nose, I want you to imagine towards the base of the spine is the spiral, the coiled up, creative life force energy. When we meditate on the spiral and do a walking meditation like a labyrinth, we're moving inward towards our center as we walk from the outside in. And as we take that journey from the inside back out of that labyrinth or spiral, it's about how we're going to express ourselves and offer our gifts and medicines to the world. But even the chakras, when they're balanced, spin clockwise. Imagine that spiral beginning to spin in a clockwise manner, awakening and rising up the other centers. Perhaps pausing in the abdomen, where I mentioned one of the symbols being the sacred geometry with the pinnacle pointed upward, representing the inner fire of transformation. I like to imagine the flames being drawn up into the heart, to the center of purification at the throat. And then send your drishti in and up to your mind's eye, the spiritual reference point at the midpoint of your brow. And the symbol for the third chakra, the sound or bija mantra seed for the chakra is Om. So maybe stamp or emblaze the symbol of Om at the third eye point, drawing what looks like a 3 in calligraphy, with the crescent moon and the dot above. And bring it on up to the crown of the head. As you're channeling the breath in and out the nose, imagine the astral spine lighting up like a column of light. Bringing it from the heavens down to the crown, towards the tailbone, and further to the ground. Representing that line when we move down from the spiritual to the physical. We're moving from the base up, moving from the physical back to the spiritual plane, the beginning symbol of the cross. And then taking the other line from one shoulder to the other, as if you were Catholic and saying your prayer in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. The symbol of the cross and what it represents to you. And also feeling how you could also create the symbol of the Ankh in a similar manner. The same line being drawn through the astral spine, the same line being drawn across the broadness of your shoulders. And then the rounded top could be the head, the crown, what represents the key of life. And bring your hands to prayer position at your heart. Let's take a cleansing breath together. Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Since we also have the Yin Yang symbol, which is all about balance and balancing things energetically, I thought we would do the balancing breath, Nadi Shodhanam. Place the first two fingers of your right hand to the third eye. Let your ring finger and thumb hang down towards the nostrils. Close the right side with your thumb. Breathe in left. Top of the inhale, close the left side. Lift your thumb. Breathe out right. Breathe in right. Breathe out left. Breathe in left. Breathe out, lean right. Inhale to the top. Exhale, breathe out, lean left. You're just casting your upper body over that thigh and knee. Inhale to center. Exhale, right. Inhale, center. Exhale, left. Continue this rhythmic movement along with the rhythmic breath. So typically one or the other side of the nose is more dominant on the breath that it brings in and the breath that it sends out. And this helps to create some harmony between the two. We know the right side of the brain controls the left side of the body, and the left side of the brain controls the other side of the body. And this helps to balance not only the energy within, but the two hemispheres of the mind and the body. The right side of the body being the solar panel, the masculine side, and the left side being the lunar panel or the feminine side. Let's do one more round. The next time you spill over to the left, remove the mudra. Inhale, bring it back to the top. Hands to prayer position at your heart. Just some simple movement to warm up. Inhale, sweep the arms overhead, palms joined together, gazing upward, and then exhale, bring the hands to the heart and humbly bow the head. We're going to do that in reverse. Inhale, shoot the arms skyward, gaze up. Exhale, flip the hands out, fan the arms wide. Let the fingertips sink to the floor as you bow your head, chin to chest. Inhale, open up. Gaze up. Exhale, Anjali Mudra. Inhale up. Exhale, spill down. One more round. Hands to prayer position at your heart. Place the fingers together. Lift the arms straight up overhead. Exhale, release the hands. Place them to the upper back and shoulders. Inhale, re-lift the palms skyward. And exhale, take the arms down, sink the chin to the chest. This is our new flow. Inhale, arms sweep up. Hands lace, pump the palms upward. Exhale, tap the upper back. Inhale, relace and lift. Exhale, release. One more. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands to the upper back. Inhale, hands laced together. Exhale, arms back down. All right, we're going to come into standing Majasana, where we're resting on our knees, shins, tops of the feet. Inhale, the arms reach up, framing the face. Exhale, clip a hold of your right wrist, lower down to the right cheek. Continue, inhale up. Exhale to the left, holding the left hand, coming down to the left cheek. Continue. One more to each side. Last one. Now stay down. Just turn to the brow and slip your hands down alongside your ankles into child's pose. Taking a few moments to breathe into the backside of your body. Letting it swell up on each inhale. And soften and relax on each exhale. Resting on the third eye point, envisioning the Ohm symbol. And then stretch your arms forward and out, lift the face up. Rock up to hands and knees and exhaling to downward facing dog. Pushing into the hands, reaching up and out through your sits bones. Head bows between the arms to replenish the skin of the face, the eyes, and the mind. Let's take a cleansing breath here, in through the nose, out audibly through the mouth. Walking the feet forward. Once it gets close to the hands, bowing over and down to Uttanasana. Weigh down your feet. Activate your calves. Ignite your knees. Contract your quads. This is good for the liver and the kidneys, which help to detoxify the body. Obviously good for decompressing the low back, great for the hamstrings. Because it's an inversion and a forward fold, it can be calming to the mind and nervous system. On your next inhalation, slowly come all the way up to Urdhva Hastasana. And when you come up to Urdhva Hastasana, reaching the arms up overhead, lace your fingers together, reach up through the heel of the hands as well as through your heels. And then exhale, lower the heels back to the ground and curve to one side. Inhale, rise up to the top, elevate your heels. Exhale, descend the feet and curve to the other side. We're going to continue that. Inhale to the center, elevate the heels. Exhale, descend the feet and swerve to one side. Crescent Moon, one of the sacred symbols. Inhale, come to center, lifting upward. Exhale, drop back down and curve to the other side. Inhale back to the top, and exhale, let the arms go. All right, standing at the top of the mat, bringing hands to Anjali Mudra. Inhale, the arms sweep up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, bow back in. Inhale, take your plank position. Holding for a couple rounds of breath. Shifting your body forward, lowering down to chaturanga, all the way to the belly and to the brow. Lift and lengthen the leg bones, thighs, shins, and feet. Shoulders roll back. Inhale, Bhujangasana, Cobra Snake. Representing the coiled up energy at the base of the spine. Joyfully rising and awakening with each and every new opportunity. Exhale, come down to the brow. Inhale, push up. Exhale, slide it on back into extended child's pose. Inhale, rock up hands and knees. Exhaling, downward facing dog. From Adho Mukha Svanasana, take some deep breaths. And when you're ready, step your right foot forward and up between your hands. Now, this is where you may want blocks. And the blocks, remember, can turn 3 different directions. But when we're lunging, have it to the point where the knee doesn't surpass the ankle. We're going to straighten out the right leg. When you straighten out the front leg, turn your left hip towards the front of your mat. And then exhale, re-lunge the knee. And you're going to go back and forth between those 2 postures. When you straighten the leg, it's okay to bow over if you have that additional flexibility. Eventually, bending that front knee, lifting the arms overhead, taking Crescent Lunge. Opening up this iliopsoas muscle, which is going to be required for cross pose. Exhale, bring the hands down. We're going to bring the back foot to the front of the mat. Lift up energetically, shine your heart through, and then exhale, fold back down and in. Inhale all the way up to the top. Exhale, hands come straight down the middle. Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, pour down. Inhale, take your plank. Hold and breathe. Building some strength. Shift forward, lower down to chaturanga, all the way to the abdomen. Lift and lengthen each leg. Glue the feet to the floor. Squeeze the glutes. Rolling up, Bhujangasana. Breathe. Create that long serpent tail. Exhale, bring it down to the brow. Inhale, push up. Exhaling, extended child's pose. Not holding, inhale, rock up. Exhale, downward facing dog. Be established here first. And then inhale, left foot steps through. Find those blocks if you're going to use them. Discover the height in which you want to use them. Lunging the knee first, and then straightening out the front leg, squaring and teeing the hips, maybe bowing the upper body, yogi's choice. And then we'll go back and forth between the lunge and standing Hanumanasana. Maybe one of those poses you feel like you need more of. But we're going to come back to it in a little bit. So let's rise to crescent next. This does involve some balance. So setting your drishti is important. Drishti will help aid our concentration, our mental focus. We're less distracted. Exhale, bring the hands down. Step it to the front. Open the heart center, and then exhale, release. Inhaling up. Exhale, bring it back down. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, plank. This time we're going to rock forward and back 3 times. That shifting and rocking forward is what we want for Chaturanga, so go ahead and take it. Sink to the belly. Shoulders back from the ears. Buttocks engages. Pubic bone presses. Rising cobra. Spiral represents vital life force energy. Exhale, come back down. Inhale, press up all fours. Exhale, back to child's. Hands super glued to the mat. Inhale, table. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, right foot steps through. Now, you use the blocks on the earlier sun sal. It may be that you want to take the blocks to a lower height. It may be that you can be on fingertips and don't even need the block. So check in, do what's appropriate, but we're doing the same sequence to start with. Moving back and forth between these 2 asanas. Inhale, coming up to crescent. From crescent, we're going to see if it's possible to lift up through the floating ribs, to blossom through the heart, and to lean the arms, shoulders, head back. Bringing the hands down. Heel toeing the right foot over to the edge of the mat. Stacking onto hands or fist for lizard. We're going to hold here a moment. We're going to sink the back knee. Untuck the back toes. And bring the blocks in to see if we can lower to the forearms. And you might be able to lower all the way to the floor. So in other words, you may not need the blocks. Hug the right knee in towards yourself instead of allowing it to wing out. Our goal here is to open the hips, to submit towards gravity, to get heavy, to become more passive, receptive. All right, we're gonna inhale, lift up. Slide those blocks away. Heel toe the right foot towards the center. Curl the back toes under. Lift that back knee. We're going to send the right leg over to the right side. We're going to slide the feet out so we come back down to it, the belly, prone position. Right arm stretches forward. Left arm to the left side. Turn to one cheek. Take a prone 4-point star. Now breathe into your belly. You're basically sending the limbs to point in 4 directions. Think about how the cross points in 4 directions. So it represents the 4 cardinal signs. It represents the 4 directions, north, south, east, west. And it also represents the 4 main elements of earth, fire, air, and water. Slide your hands underneath your shoulders. Turn your head to neutral. Curl the back toes under. Lift up and slide your right leg under and through to the other side. Pause for a moment. Feel that IAT band, that connective tissue getting the work. And then lower to the right hip. Slide your left arm forward, your right arm to your right side. Taking a different variation of 4-point star. Think about how the crescent moon and the star have been adopted by Islam and by countries and nations wanting to include that symbol or something similar on their flag. There's symbols all around us. And I've even heard on programs like Ancient Aliens and Ancient Civilizations, how they say these symbols, they believe, are part of old but very high level technology. And they're saying we've lost our awareness on how to use them. The symbols are meant to be representative of the type of energy where it's just known. It doesn't even necessarily have a name or sound associated with it. Now slide your hands up underneath the shoulders and push up. It's hard to come out after that. Lift up, step back, plank. And from plank, push back to downward facing dog. And from Adho Mukha Svanasana, soar your seat skyward and feel the sacred triangle here. The hands and the feet at the base, and the sacrum being the pinnacle of the pose. Now travel the feet forward to the top of the mat, lifting halfway upon arrival. Exhale, release. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, bring it back down. Inhale halfway. Exhale, lower. Inhale, plank. And you're rocking forward and back. So you can use your feet to rock forward and back. You can also try to isolate using your core, your quads, and your belly. Drop low to chaturanga, all the way down. Lift and lengthen the legs. Prepare for cobra before rising upward. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Exhale, child's. Inhale, lift. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left foot through. And then we'll go back and forth between the lunge and the straight leg. When you take the next lunge, we're coming up to crescent. Maybe striking the back bend with it. Exhale, bring the hands down. Heel toe the left foot over to the side of the mat. Stacking on hands or fist for lizard. Down to the back knee. Maybe using blocks or settling to the floor. Building up from here. Heel toe the left foot towards the center. Frame the foot with your hands. Preparing for lunge. And then stepping the left foot over to the left. Sliding it out, coming to a prone 4-point star. Limbs pointed in every direction. Hands tuck under the shoulders, curl the back toes under, lift up like plank. Slide your left foot through and under the body. Coming down to the second variation. Now the back foot can either rest on the top or the toes curled. Whatever feels better for the foot and the low back. Let go. enticed and drawn down by gravity. And slide your hands underneath, curl the back toes, press up plank, stepping it back, pushing back to downward facing dog. When you're ready, walking the feet forward to the top of the mat, lifting halfway. Exhale, release. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart. We're going to step open, squaring the feet, making sure you're not rolling, pronating, supinating the feet at all. Hands to hips, shoulders back, fold down. And when you're coming into this forward fold, I want you to feel how this pose even feels like a triangle, right? Your seat being at the top, your feet being the base. You can even feel like your hips are the base of the second triangle and your head is pointed down, similar to the blended triangles of the Star of David. It also represents that duality. Remember that symbol also means freedom. And walking the hands forward, lengthening up through the crown, hands to the hips, come up to stand. And you're going to turn your left foot 90 degrees, kick back your right heel, stretch out through your arms, come down to triangle pose, sacred geometry. But we're going to contract the core and we're going to fan the arm down, gaze down, and then we'll inhale, create the linear lines as we lift back up. 2 more. Last one. Inhale up. Rise to stand. Relax your arms. Turn your left foot and right. Preparing for Trikonasana. Lengthen out. Windmill down. Strike your triangle. And then exhale, contract to fan the arm down to gaze down. And inhale, open back up. Feel that twist. Exhale, bring it down. Inhale, open up. Exhale down. Last one. Exhale, release. Lunge that right knee. Sink down to the back. All right, we are ready for cross. And cross is not an easy pose. This is something I learned years ago. And I actually Googled cross yoga pose and nothing came up. So again, I've only learned this pose from one teacher one time. I've never done it with any other teacher. And when I tried to look it up, I couldn't find it. So who knows where this stems from. But we're going to curl the back toes under and we're going to inchworm back. Knee back, toes back. Knee back, toes back. We do it 2 to 3 times until that front knee is angled back away from that front ankle. There should be a slope here. Continue to keep the back toes curled. And then we're going to drop down and heel toe the right foot over to the edge of the mat. Okay? So again, you can bring the blocks to stack up underneath your forearms, and this may be your cross pose. To go into the full position, we lock the right arm underneath the right leg. We shift the weight to the outer edge of the right foot. We pick up the left hand. It threads behind the back, maybe catching the other hand. We balance, we breathe. We release the arms. To exit, we inchworm forward. Knee, foot, knee, foot, knee, foot. And then bring it back to tabletop, hands and knees. All right, we're gonna step the left foot through. We're going to cross. We need the back toes curled under in order to inchworm back. Now, like I said, I don't know if the teacher I learned this from made up this pose or not. Maybe she didn't make up the pose, but she made up the name. I don't know. But I've wondered through the years, why is this called cross pose? Right? And the idea of Jesus and the cross doesn't stem from India, even though they're very accepting and loving of Jesus. He'll toe that foot over. So I think this is an Americanized pose, is what I'm trying to say. Left hand switches to the inside. See if you can hunker down. And then it dawned on me, doing it just this weekend, that maybe it's named cross because, you know, the story goes where Jesus not only was crucified, but he had to carry the burden of the cross on his back for that walk of shame, right, to the place where he was going to be crucified. And it was so heavy, and he was so weak, and he was so beaten down that he kept falling down. And so that's where I think this name comes from. If you want to thread the arms, thread the left, then the right. Hold and breathe. Then release the arms when you've had enough. Inchworm forward, slowly but surely, until you can bring that left knee back. And then we're gonna find a seat. All right, when we find a seat, the right shin is gonna be in front of us. The left heel is gonna come back beside the hip. Half pigeon, basically, is what we're going for here. So we're gonna lean forward into the hands. We're gonna fold over. Take your time. Finding your edge of flexibility, breathing here. So hopefully you've been paying attention, not just to your body, but to these symbols and their meanings and to how we're expressing them in our postures, in our practice today. Now we're opening the hip here, but we're also positioning ourselves in order to do the Wheel of Life twist. So I'm actually going to turn my body so that I don't confuse you. So I'm going to show you from the back side, you know, where we're at now. And it's okay to stay low because we're going to spin over to the right. And again, I may not be exactly mirroring you, just do your best. You're spinning over to the right, and you can stack onto your forearms. Now lately, by lately I mean this past year, I've really enjoyed the Wheel of Life at this juncture because I feel sensation here. And you may be a person that feels more sensation when we take the next step. However, you may also be a person that feels not much of anything on the next step. And so if you want to feel something, move into the space where you're actually feeling some of the work and benefit. Otherwise, you can lengthen out through your arms, creating an L shape, and sink and melt towards the face. Now both offer something nice and juicy, nice and yummy. Pick what's going to suit your taste today. Wheel of life, what represents birth, life, death, rebirth, or our own personal path or journey of life, our dharma, our purpose. All right, inhale, slowly walk it in. Line yourself back up. And then we'll swap so that the left shin is out in front and your right ankle comes back alongside your hip. I'm going to rotate this way again because I want to share with you something I failed to mention on that first side. When your shin's in front for this half pigeon, ideally you want your knees and heel kind of lined up with your hips. And then we'll forward fold. Different than deer pose. Deer is a yin position. I feel like they're different anyway. Enjoy the hip opener. Let this be a good prelude and prep before our twist. And inhale, we'll slowly lift. You don't have to lift all the way up because remember, we're twisting to the left anyway. So you can stay low to the ground and you can come to prop onto your forearms. You can also check in, slide the arms in that L-shaped position. Right arm forward, left arm to the left side. Spilling down to one side of your face. Sliding the hands in, lifting back up, turning your knees up, drawing them in, hug the legs, bow your head, push back lightly into your shoulders. Counter position after the twist. Inhale, grow the stem of the spine upward, and we're ready for Shavasana. So you guys that have been with me over the course of years, I did a series based on sacred symbols probably about 5 years ago. And I just focused on one symbol each week. I even included the peace symbol. Right, so this is kind of the symbols in a nutshell. We're going to do restorative fish. So I don't know if you saw how I lined up the blocks. One on its tall height, one on its medium height. The medium height goes under the spine. This one goes under the head. If you prefer a bolster, you can use a bolster for a restorative fish. But remember, fish was one of the sacred symbols. So as you settle in, get comfortable. And I want to share with you, I've been teaching at a new studio the last 6 months. And I've been meeting obviously some new people, different stages on their journey with yoga. And there's a married couple that I've been working with, and the lady in particular, a little bit longer and a little bit more so than the husband. But anyway, uh, she came into the practice on Easter Sunday when I was leading this practice, except it was much longer. And she started to bawl at the end of class because at the end of class, I played Let It Be as everybody was picking up their items. And I noticed she was crying, but I just kind of left her alone. And she came up to me and she said, "You know, my sister wanted to take me to a church service. Normally I would go with her, but I felt really drawn to this subject." And she said, "I had no idea how much I was going to gain from this practice." She said, "During the pandemic, my husband and I were bored and we decided to paint rocks." And she said, "My favorite rock was the one where I painted a spiral." She goes, "I've never even noticed a spiral or seen a spiral or knew that it meant anything. It just came to me while I was painting." And then she mentioned that she was wearing and showed me a bangle with the Ohm symbol. She was wearing angel wing earrings, and they each had two angel wings hanging down that formed the shape of the fish. And her uncle had recently passed away, and she had taken one of the bangle bracelets he had, and it was Native American jewelry, and it had a big swastika on the bangle. And had it cleaned up, and then she took it to a drawer to put a turquoise stone on top of the swastika because she didn't want the swastika to be seen. And then she learned the swastika in its pure state actually represents life, good luck, and prosperity. And the person who had gifted her the angel wing earrings had told her every time she wore them to know that Mother Mary was watching over her. And of course, Let It Be says, "Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be." Now, I didn't tell her Paul McCartney was really talking about his own mother named Mary, not Mother Mary. But it didn't matter because the symbology and the significance ran so deep with her. So I want you to be contemplative on one of these sacred mantras: the crescent moon, the triangle, the star, the Ankh symbol, the cross, the spiral, the fish, the yin yang, the wheel of life. Consider one of these symbols, and I want you to meditate on this symbol and blazing it in your heart and in your third eye as you dwell and rest in silence. When you're ready, deepening the flow of your breath. If you're not ready to come out, just pause the video. Otherwise, after you deepen the flow of your breath, press your palms into the floor. Use your upper body strength to rise. Sitting upright. Resting your palms open, your eyelids turned down. Join your palms together to prayer. Bow your head. May we remember what the symbology is behind these sacred symbols. May we take the lessons learned on the mat, off the mat. May ourselves and others benefit from this practice. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaste.